Hello everybody, I am Dr. Bree, Doctor of Physical Therapy and founder of Fusion Fitness, your home for core and pelvic floor friendly fitness. And today I have a fun routine that really utilizes subtle, tiny alignment shifts and small changes in your core fitness program that's really gonna help you feel the workout. So we're gonna get right into it and start standing up. And I have my handy skeleton, little fella friend here, to help me explain to you what we're gonna be feeling for our first move. So again, you're standing up and I want you to feel the hips. Your hip joints are actually right here and here. So it's a ball and socket joint right here and here. What I want you to feel, his floppy hands, don't feel his floppy hands. What I want you to feel is the hip joints themselves coming inward. So this is a very subtle motion, and I want you to be standing up right now with your feet grounded underneath you, pointing forward, and feel those inner hip joints, the hip ball and socket joints moving inward. Again, very subtle, but this is gonna activate the pelvic floor, the hip muscles all around, and you should even feel a little something throughout your entire core. So again, we're coming inward, here and here. Now I want you to picture that you are riding a little higher. Your pelvis, right here, your pelvis is riding a little higher in your hip sockets. So your hip sockets are coming inward and nice and strong, and then you're riding a little bit higher in those hip joints. Your pelvis is actually lifting up just a little bit. Isn't it amazing how you can feel everything really turn on? So one more time, I'm gonna say it. Your hip joints come inward. Again, this is super subtle. We're talking really just a feeling. You're feeling them come inward, the hip muscles activate, and then you feel like you're riding a little higher in your hip joints. Like your pelvis is almost lifting up away from the ground. Now, from here, now that we feel that strong activated lower part of your core, I want you to feel that your ribs, feel in your ribs right here. Make sure that your ribs aren't jutting forward like this. You want to keep this riding high feeling, but then pull your ribs gently in. Not like this, you don't want to be caved in, but you just want to make sure that this isn't happening right here. So pull your ribs gently in, so you're riding high in your hip sockets, and your ribs are gently pulled in. Kind of think of knitting them together just a little bit. And now you should feel very active throughout your whole core. Now, if your butt muscles are super clenched, try to keep everything the way it is, but just kind of soften the butt muscles if they're really hard and clenched. They can be slightly active, but you don't want them clenched and turned on. If they're clenched and turned on, it could be throwing you out of alignment in other directions. So let it all go, shake it all out, do a little spaghetti twist with your arms, and then we're gonna do it all one more time, but a little bit faster. I'm gonna move my fella out of the way here. And we'll add on an exercise to that positioning as well. All right, shake out those arms again, roll out your shoulders, take a big, deep, expansive belly breath. One more, breathe down into your pelvic floor, let your belly and ribs expand, everything expands, and then exhale. Everything comes in and up. All right, let's go ahead and do it again. So squeezing your hip joints together, it's again, super subtle. It's really just a mental picturing them drawing inward, and then picturing that you're riding a little higher in your hip sockets. So your pelvis is almost lifting up. Now pull those lower ribs in if they jutted forward. You want to pull them in, knit them together. You should feel very active all the way through here. You should feel neutral in your spine and low back, so you're not overly arched like this. And you're also not tucked under like this. So you're squeezing together, lifting up, pulling your ribs in, rolling your shoulders down and back. And now keeping this beautiful position, make sure that your butt muscles are not overly clenched. And let's go ahead and bring your hands to your heart. And don't move anything in this beautiful positioning as we gently bring your right leg behind you. Just touch your toes to the ground. Keep strong. Make sure you don't let your belly go. Make sure you don't let your ribs pop forward. We want to keep everything knitted together. Remember, this class is all about micro moves. So really focus in on your core. Now, let's tip your entire body so that your leg is coming off the ground as you tip forward. Tip and see how far forward you can come. Keeping your hips square facing forward, so don't open up out to the side. You want to keep your hips square. Keeping the core nice and engaged, your lower ribs knitted together, so don't let them jet forward, and hold it. Breathing. Every time you exhale, you really feel that activation of your core even more. Now, for this core work, you are going to breathe a little bit higher into your chest. It won't be such a big, expansive belly breath for this, since we're working out right now. So breathe a little bit higher into your chest, but still feel as you exhale that activation of your core even more. Now, one more breath in and out. And then come back up to stand. Let it all go. Shake it all out, twist it out, and you should have really felt that on your standing leg. For me, it was this left leg, the standing leg. Whew. And of course, feel it throughout your entire core as well. Your hips are turned on, your deep abs are turned on, your low back is turned on. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Let's go ahead and do the other side. So same exact thing. Hip joints, ball and socket joints, think of bringing them inward toward each other. Again, super subtle motion. Now picture riding a little bit higher in your hip sockets. Your pelvis lifts up, your spine lifts up, your ribs lift, everything is lifting. Now if those ribs are popping forward, pull them in. Now watch your shoulders, make sure they're not roundy. You want to bring them back, hands at your heart. Keep everything exactly as you have it right now. Make sure your butt muscles aren't overly clenched. They can be active, but not overly clenched. And left leg behind you, toe on the ground. Keep everything in this beautiful alignment, and we're gonna tip everything forward. Tip, tip, tip. Keep the beautiful alignment. Do not let your hip go like this. We're keeping our hips square, facing forward. Try to keep your balance, of course. That's a challenge in itself. If you need to have a wall nearby or a chair, that's fine. Keep your arch lifted on your standing foot. Try not to let it collapse inward. Ankles are strong. Knee can be softly bent. That's totally okay. Breathe deeply. Every time you exhale, feel yourself engage even a little bit more through the core. You are now feeling some pretty good strength through that butt cheek on the side of the leg that's lifted and the leg that's standing. So you are feeling that activation now. And let's do one more breath in and out. Oh, I should have said, don't let that hip jut out to the side. You want to keep everything lifted and strong. Okay, now go ahead and come back up to stand. Deep breath. In and out, let it go. When you do that again on your own, when you're going through this routine again, make sure that you don't let your standing leg hip jut out to the side. Just like your hips are square facing forward, so too are your hips square, side to side. You're not letting one side jut out as you reach the leg behind you. So everything is nice and aligned. All right, let's go ahead and go down onto the mat. You will need a yoga block or a yoga ball, a little Pilates or yoga ball for this next part. Ultimately, have a yoga mat. I don't necessarily need one, but it's always nice to have a mat. So go ahead and grab your Pilates ball, place it between your knees, or your yoga block is fine too. Now, what I want you to feel is I want you to feel and sense your alignment. We're gonna really bring it into the abdominal area. And I want you to just feel your body is gonna be different than my body here. So really use your hands and your mind-body connection to sense what's going on with you when you're just lying here with your knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Actually, let's move the ball away from us just for a moment. Just for a moment, ball away. So in this position, I feel that for me, my right hip, if I feel my hip points in the front of my pelvis, the anterior superior iliac spines, my right side is actually elevated. It's higher than my left side. I can also feel that from the back. If I put my fingertips underneath my pelvis, I can feel that actually I can go a little bit further on this right side. I can go deeper in there because this whole right side of my pelvis is actually lifted. My pelvis is twisted. If I was to really be, exaggerating this is going on. So now that I can sense that, I can feel, okay, there's a difference there. I know that I need to bring this right side down. Using my muscles, you can use your hand to guide it, but use your body to bring this right side down. For me, again, you might be different, but many people actually do have the right side lifted, because just think, so many of us drive in the car with our right foot doing the gas, doing the brake, doing all the things. So for many of us, you might have the right side elevated compared to the left. So now I'm bringing my right side down. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to feel in and sense if maybe I'm a little bit crunched up on one side or the other. For me, my right side is elevated, but it also tends to be kind of crunched up and tense on this side of my body. My obliques and my abdominal muscles are a little bit crunched on this side. So I'm going to lengthen that right side down, away toward my foot. Again, you have to play with what feels right in your body. Now I'm going to feel that, wow, there's quite a bit of space underneath my low back. I can fit my whole arm underneath my low back. That's not good. We don't want that much. That's quite an arch. So we want to think about pulling the back of your ribs, your back ribs, so the area even underneath your bra strap, that area back there, should be closer toward the floor. So let's bring that a little closer toward the floor. And feel also, as we do this, bringing the back ribs closer to the floor and knitting the front ribs together so that they're not popped and splayed open. So bringing them down, keeping that pelvic alignment just right. Now let's feel where our pelvis is. Remember, there's a lot going on here, so take your time with this. Find the pelvis so that the front hip spikes are level, and you want to find your back ribs close to the ground. Make sure there's not so much of an arch under your low back that you can put your whole arm underneath it. You can put your fingertips there maybe, fingertips on either side, but not all the way underneath. Now feel a diamond shape on your hands. Place them on your pelvis itself and make sure that your diamond is pretty flat. You don't want to be so that your diamond is pointed up like this toward the ceiling, but you also don't want the back side of your diamond to be way high. So you want to realign everything. Find that your diamond is basically flat on your pelvis. Feel that your front hip spikes are in line, that your right side isn't up versus the left, which it was for me, so I had to pull it down. Feel that there's equal distance between your fingertip and your middle fingertip, or your index fingertip and your thumb, which should be on your ribs. Feel that there's equal distance and that one side isn't crunched up versus the other. Feel that your back ribs are down close to the floor. I know it's so much to think about, isn't it? If you have any back pain at all or back issues at all, then actually bring your back a little bit flatter to the floor. I just don't want this to happen at all. I want to avoid any risk of overly arching your back. So if you have any fears or back pain or anything like that, then bring your back a little closer to the floor. Ultimately, we want it to be in a neutral spine position. But again, if there's any type of back issues at all, we want to make sure that we're erring on being closer to the ground instead of arching away from the ground. So now that we have everything in line, our ribs are knitted together, our hips are nice and in line, side to side, and also front to back. Now we can pull in the pelvic floor. So pelvic floor is always first when we're doing ab exercises. We want to engage our pelvic floor first and make sure we can really feel those muscles activate and turn on. Because if your abs are too strong and they're doing all the work, they're often squeezing in and pushing down. And if your pelvic floor isn't strong enough to resist that, then there can be big problems. So let's turn that pelvic floor a little bit extra on by putting the ball or the block between the knees and then gently squeezing against it. You should feel a little turn on happen in your inner thighs and that pelvic floor area. Now engage the pelvic floor without squeezing your butt cheeks too much. They might slightly activate, but try not to let your butt cheeks be the prime movers here. The pelvic floor muscles inside your body should be turning on and lifting just a little bit. So it's a lift toward your head, not a bearing down or a bulging down. It's a lift. It's a turning on and a lift. So everything should feel really gathered up. You have that beautiful alignment. Feel. For me, I feel like my right hip kind of popped up again. So I want to draw it down. Make sure that it's not crunching up on this side. Ribs are knitted together. Okay, we're ready. So in this position, you're going to have your hands on the floor strongly. Bring your toes toward your bum just a little bit more. Now, with all of your strength, you're going to lift your knees toward your chest as you exhale. Try not to let your back arch and try not to let your belly dome up. If you feel that it's doming up as you do this, then it's too much for you and you need to release the ball and just do maybe a little slide. Slide out and then come on in. Slide out and come on in. Trying not to let anything move from your beautiful positioning here, but that's a great starter exercise. Now, if you want to go ahead and try with me what we were doing before, let's do it again. So take a deep breath. Make sure you're set in that explanation that I gave you before. Nice and set up through that core. Ribs are knitted in. Your hips are aligned. They're not popping up. They're not rocking forward or back too much. It's nice and neutral. Belly draws into the spine. Pelvic floor is turned on as the knees gently squeeze against the ball. Everything is lifting and gathering in and up. Now, bring the knees toward the chest. On an exhale. Belly is drawn in. Do not let it dome up. If it did dome up, then remember, release the ball and you can just slide one foot down away from you and then bring it back up. And then slide the other foot away from you and bring it back up. That's a great starting point. Now, if you can do this with me, let's do 5 more, nice and slow. 5. Shoulders are relaxed away from your ear. 4. Exhaling as you bring the knees up. 3. Watch that right hip. For me, it wants to come up, so bringing it down, knitting the lower ribs together, keeping the area beneath my bra strap on the ground. 2. Shoulders are relaxed. And last one. 1. Hold it up. Now, we're going to stay here and do some straightening out and then pulling it back in. So just as before, make sure, feel into your core. Go really slow. Feel into your core and feel that your hips are staying level. One hip, for me, my right hip, it always wants to go up. We want to keep everything on the ground equally. We want to keep the back of the pelvis on the ground equally. We want to keep the front hip spikes equal and level, so not one side popping up. We want to make sure that the low ribs are knitted together and drawn in. Want to make sure that the low back is nice and neutral, airing toward being closer to the floor. Never, never, never arching. Superly arching through your low back can really hurt you. Cause back pain, cause all sorts of troubles. Breathe and keep the low belly pulled in. If you want more, you can bring your hands overhead. My right hip is actually creeping up as I do this. I'm feeling this happen. So I am going to put my hands down because what I noticed is that my back of my sacrum and my pelvis was no longer flat on the floor. My right side was lifting just a little bit. Now, you should be able to feel work all the way up to your ribs, from your belly in the front to your back ribs to everything, keeping this beautiful alignment. Remember, that area under your bra strap is on the ground. Shoulders are relaxed away from your ears. Let's do 2 more. Breathing steadily, exhaling with exertion. Ooh, that's a lot, isn't it? So good. Okay, release the ball. And we're gonna go ahead and come into a reverse tabletop just to stretch everything out. So roll onto your side like I just did. Come up onto your hands and you're going to place your hands with fingertips pointing forward or out to the side, and lift everything up. Now look and make sure that your knees are parallel, your thighs, I should say, are parallel. Your feet are under your knees, and just press, press, press your hips up. You can be on your fists if this is too much for your wrists. Wrists and fists. Lift, 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 squeeze the buns, and then come on down. Okay, we have 2 more moves. This one's really gonna turn on the pelvic floor, and then we're gonna really work the obliques and entire core. So let's go ahead and do this one next. Ball or yoga block between your knees, just like before. You're going to pie, little pizza slice or pie slice your feet together so your toes are touching. Toes are touching, heels are apart. Ball or yoga block is between your knees. Now lift nice and tall. You're gonna wanna be hunchy, scrunchy like this, but I want you to be lifted with your hands behind you, that's fine. Now walk your sitting bones, your butt bones underneath you so that you're not slumped under like this. You wanna be lifted, sitting on your sitting bones. Again, squeezing your toes together, heels apart, and then gently squeeze the ball together. Now what's happening is you're going to activate your pelvic floor and your deep abdominals at the same time. And what I want you to do is either stay like this, if you're like, yeah, I can kind of feel a lot going on in the hips and pelvic floor and abs and back and everything, then that's fine. Stay here with your spine long, sitting on your sitting bones. If you want more, then go ahead and release your hands and you're gonna bring them forward. So hold it here. You can lean back just a bit, but make sure, especially if you have diastasis recti, that you're not doming or tenting or pooching in your low belly. Be honest with yourself, and if you need to come back to here, then that's totally okay. And release. Take the ball out and just gently either sit up nice and tall with your legs flopped apart, or you can come forward. Deep breath. Now that's a great move to really activate, like I said, the inner thighs, pelvic floor, abs, back, everything. Let's do it one more time. So toes together, heels apart, block or ball between your knees. Start with your hands behind you. Activating your pelvic floor as, well, actually first let's find our alignment. So sit up nice and tall. Sitting bones are even beneath you. So for me, I always have to watch that right side. I can feel that the right side, I'm not as grounded into my right side. So I'm grounding into both sides of my sitting bones now. Feel that you're long through the spine. Pull in those low ribs. For me, my low ribs always want to pop forward, so I pull in my low ribs. And this is a lot right here, just squeezing the toes together, squeezing the ball, activating everything. But if you want more, then strong through the core, hands forward, holding it, maybe leaning back a little bit more. But if you have diastasis recti, don't let your belly pooch or tent. Feel the pelvic floor, feel the entire core, feel the inner thighs, feel everything on. Squeeze those toes together, squeeze the ball. Feel it all happening, and inhale, come on up, and exhale, flop the knees apart. All right, we're working our hip flexors a lot. I do have one more move before we twist it out and stretch it out. So here's what we're gonna do. Come onto your elbows. This is my right hand here. So for you, it might be your left hand, depending on what side you're on. But go ahead and turn this arm out to the side. So turn the arm out to the side. You're gonna roll onto your hip on that same side. So for me, it's my right hip. And then you're going to really make sure your alignment is good. So you're in a diagonal right now. So make sure you're in a real diagonal. You're not all slouched like this. Your body's in one unit. So you're moving your body in a unit diagonally to the side. Strong and lifted through the pelvic floor and core. Keep that nice length through your neck and your shoulder. And now you're going to straighten your legs, strong through the core, and reach your left arm toward your left foot. So this arm is reaching toward the feet. Long through the spine, lift, lift, lift. Using our entire core, our thighs, our hip flexors a lot. Lift, 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 holding it. Don't let your belly pooch up. If it's pooching up, then you're gonna need to stop and take a rest. If you can keep it pulled in, your spine long, your whole body has moved in a unit diagonally to the side, then that's awesome. That's where we wanna be. Holding it here for 2 more nice deep breaths. I'm shaking, I hope you are too. Every time you exhale, you feel that lift of your pelvic floor. You're breathing a little more into your chest here because you're so strong through the core. And release. Okay, now the whole body moves as a unit toward the middle. Flop everything apart. Oh, let it go. Little butterfly wings here. And take a deep breath. Wiggle it all out. Let's go ahead and do the other side. I'm gonna actually spin so that you can see me better. So I'm now doing my other side. So for me, this is now my left hand and it's coming out to the side. My whole body is moving as a unit to the left. Now, strong and lifted through the core, so I'm not slumped and rounded like this. I'm lifted. My whole body has shifted as a unit diagonally. And now, strong core, I straighten my legs. Right arm reaches toward the feet. Hold it. Hold it. Lifted through the pelvic floor. Remember, pelvic floor first. When you're doing your ab exercises and your core work, pelvic floor engages first. That's really important to keep in mind. The stronger you get through your abs, the more you need to have a strong pelvic floor to help keep everything in and up as you do this ab strengthening moves that tend to compress and could even push things out and prolapse you if you're not careful and not really making sure that your pelvic floor can handle the ab work that you're doing. So reach, 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 reach. Feel the entire core turned on. Feel that your alignment is great even though you're in this weird, funky diagonal position. Lift, lift, lift through the spine. Reach, reach, reach toward the hand or toward the feet. One more breath. And release. Oh my gosh. Go ahead and release. Flop out your knees, little butterfly wings. And let's do one more of those reverse tabletops. And then we'll do a twist. So we didn't do very many reps of anything, but you should have felt this deep in your core, and hopefully it used muscles in a new way maybe and started to wake things up, just like my other programs do. Definitely check out my lift program or my ab camp program if you want even more of this. So reach the hips up toward the sky. Make sure your thighs are parallel and they're not flopped out like this or they're not bowed in like this. We want to be nice and parallel through the thighs. Reaching up through the hips. Hands can be on fists if you'd like. One more deep breath. And then come on down. We are going to end with a nice twist. So come on through your side, onto your back, arms out like a T. I want you to bring your hips off to the left. So hips are going to go to the left, and then both knees toward your chest, and knees drop to the right. In this position, I want you to puff your chest up toward the ceiling as you inhale. And as you exhale, really drop that left shoulder down toward the ground. I also want you to think about lengthening the side waist. So your hip, your left hip, this top hip, is going down toward your heel. So really reach that hip toward the heel so you're lengthening this side waist. One more deep, deep breath. It's just a super quick release for the low back. One leg up and then the other. Come into a bridge just to recenter yourself. Lift, 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 lift your buns toward the ceiling. Make sure there's space so that you can breathe. And then roll it down. Now kick your hips both out to the right. So you're just shifting your hips to the right. Bring your knees up toward the chest. And drop both legs down toward the left. Now in this position, arms out in a T, puff your chest up as you inhale, and then as you exhale, feel that you're bringing that right shoulder down toward the ground. Feel also that you're lengthening the side. This is hard for me on this right side, but lengthening the side, bring that hip down toward your heels. Maybe your belly starts making a little bit of noise here. That's okay. That's a good thing. And then go ahead and come on up. One more bridge just to recenter us and continue to strengthen up that back side. So lift, rolling one vertebrae up at a time, all the way up, 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 up. Look at those pelvis points. The front hip points, feel your feet, feel that they're flat on the floor, spread out on the floor. Hip points are level, hips are lifting, buns are squeezing. One last squeeze, one last blast, and then roll it down. Flop out your right leg, flop out your left leg. Do a little body scan. And as you're lying here with your arms and legs flopped side to side, everything is just relaxed on the floor. Take this as one last chance to feel where your body is. For me, when I start at the top and work my way down toward the bottom, I can feel that even after all that work, I have a lot to work on, you guys. This is a lifetime of holding my body the wrong way. Even after all that work, I still feel that my right back ribs are higher off the floor than my left, and that's okay. I still feel that, so I'm just gonna draw my ribs so that my back ribs are even toward the floor. You can also have a rolled up blanket or a rolled up yoga mat or a bolster under your knees if you need to for comfort, but I'm gonna show you without that. So I'm drawing my low back ribs, my back side, so that they're even. Now I don't have so much space between that right side that I could put my right hand a lot farther in than my left hand. So I'm drawing my back ribs down. This time I'm not doing it so much with muscular activation. I'm more just feeling my skeleton in space, and I'm trying to get my skeleton in alignment. And of course my muscles are having to work a bit, but I want to just find that great alignment before I totally relax and let go. Now moving down a little bit, I'm feeling my pelvis. I feel that my right side wants to release up, and so I just want to soften it down. Just saying the word soften on my right side helps the muscles relax and just let go and unwind. Soften, soften, soften. My right hip is so tight, and so softening and thinking about the hip getting heavy in the right hip socket, getting heavy there. That really helps. I like to put my hands on my pelvis and just bring everything nice and heavy down to the ground. Now let your legs flop evenly apart. Maybe one side feels like it has to be upright because it's really tight and stiff, but just let it go. Let both sides go. Let your arms go. And now try to just, without using any muscular activation, just let your body be. But know that this beautiful alignment that you found right now and throughout the whole practice is really what you should be striving for. Over time, as you work your body and you do your core workouts in this beautiful aligned position, it's going to become your new normal. It's going to become your new set point. It takes time and it takes patience, but that's okay. This is a great starting point. So now just let everything go. Take a deep breath. Take one more nice deep breath. And then roll carefully onto your side. And slowly make your way up to a seated position when you're ready. Now you can always stay in that Shavasana, that nice resting pose at the end for as long as you want. But I want to leave you here with this and just say thank you so much for taking the time to think about your body, to think about taking the best care of you and your personal alignment needs. Just know that you don't always need a ton of reps or crazy hardcore exercises to really get a deep burn. I hope that you felt this workout. If you didn't, then I encourage you to actually do the video again and again and again and listen to the instructions and tune in to not what my body needed. My right hip was all funky. Yours might be different. Yours might be the other side, or maybe you have something entirely different going on. But either way, tune into what your body needs and try to correct it, knowing that that ideal neutral spine position is what we're going for, with our ribs in line and not jutting forward, with our pelvis level and neutral, everything nice and in line, and using your muscles to make that happen when you're doing your core workout. I hope this helped, and as always, remember, eat clean, move every day, and you will shine brighter. Thank you so much for being a part of my FemFusion community. Definitely subscribe if you like this content and explore my playlists. I have a ton of archived videos and content from the past 9-10 years. So there's lots to look through. My older videos are a little iffy as far as how the filming looks, but they're all still great. Enjoy exploring, and remember, you are different than anybody else. Always tune into what your body needs. And if you need specific help, then definitely talk to a women's health physical therapist in your area. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.